Hello! This episode is with Rachel Nard. Rachel is so sweet. Her and her husband run their training business together, so you can find them on Instagram at patrickandrachelnard. Obviously, this will all be linked. And the thing we didn't get a chance to talk about in this episode is that they have a timer app. If you have Apple, not Android. I have Android, so I haven't got to check it out, but I'm sure it's awesome. So you can check that out if you have Apple. I'll have everything linked in the description, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
They're great. So how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to the first episodes of this podcast where I clearly have no idea what I'm doing. And we're just going to try our best and talk about kettlebells and things that we like. That's my plan.
Sounds good.
So let's just talk about you. How did you get into strength training? Or how long have you been strength training, just generally?
Generally, I guess since 2009 or so. I grew up playing ball sports.
Okay. What did you play?
Softball was my main sport. I was a pitcher. And then I played soccer and basketball to kind of keep doing stuff, but they were definitely not my favorites.
I was a soccer player. That's why I ask.
I played midfield, which probably just meant that I ran around way too much and didn't know what I was doing. But I played those through high school, and then in college I still played softball, but intramural because I went to a D1 school, so I was not playing D1 softball, but it was still super fun to play intramurals and stuff. So then in college I kind of didn't really do that much weightlifting. I still only really knew about cardio and body weight movements, and I was scared of the weight section of the gym in college. And it was shortly after college I had moved out to Utah for a year, in Salt Lake City, and I started going to this place called Boxing is for Girls. And the girl who owned it was awesome. She had a mohawk and she had washboard abs. She was super fit, and I guess she was CrossFit certified, so it was kind of a combination of CrossFit with boxing.
Boxing is crazy. I love boxing classes.
It was just really fun, and that was where I started lifting weights. And then in 2010 I moved back to New York City and started working at a corporate gym as a trainer after that. It wasn't what I went to school for at all, but here we are. Been doing it professionally for 13 years now. So that was kind of where I got my start in strength training. And after I started working at the gym, I got into kettlebells pretty much immediately, and never stopped.
Perfect. And then you joined the kettlebell cult, and we're here. And so you did hardstyle to start, and I know you've been on a sports style, journey. That's the right verb. But because I know you did a bunch of hardstyle, and then I saw you on Reddit and Instagram, and you've been doing a lot of sport. How did you decide to get into sport training? It's not people like to.
In 2010 was when I did my first kettlebell certification. That was through the RKC because Strong First didn't exist yet. Pavel broke off and made Strong First in 2012. So kind of from that, I went through all the Strong First certifications. They have 2 kettlebell, a barbell, and a body weight one. So once we went through all those, it was kind of just where else do we go from here? And you can only really go heavier for so long. A lot of their approaches are more of these short bursts. So most of the types of workouts that you're doing aren't really more than like 5 or 10 reps at a time. Like
it's all
sometimes 15 to 30, but it's like very rare.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got to this point where I was like, I can swing a 40 kilo with one hand for sets of 5, like up to 40 rounds. Like, I don't really want to be doing this because it was
boring.
Yeah, it was just not that fun. And my grip was hating me. And we had just seen it both like on Reddit and through some people that are close to us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, doing a lot of kettlebell sport. And Patrick ordered a few pairs of competition bells, and he was kind of the one who first started testing it out. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fine. Because I'm always very strength oriented. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always just felt like that's where I thrived, was like doing less reps with heavier weights was really my jam. And doing anything for a longer period of time, I just really dreaded.
Cardio.
But then, yeah.
Nobody wants to do cardio.
Exactly. And, but it really allowed me to scale all the way back. Like I wish we had gotten 8s or 10s, but the latest ones we got was 12s, which is still fine. And a lot of that I would do single arm at first, because I was just like, even the double 12s for a long period of time was horrible. So, you know, I really just checked my ego at the door and was like, you know, whatever it takes to try to get better at this. And it's just been really humbling and fun. And I guess I officially started practicing in this manner last August. So I don't know what that is, how many months, but
we'll say almost a year. I don't want to do math. I'm not a math person.
7, 8 months. I don't know. So we'll kind of see like where I am at the 1 year mark. I don't really have any specific intentions of competing just yet, but I'm still having fun.
I mean, that's a good thing. I think that's the best part though, is like, you were smart going in, like checking your ego at the door and going light. Because I think people come in from hardstyle a lot of times and they go, oh, I can just do this because I've been lifting, you know, double 24 for squats for 10 reps. And then they're like, oh, I can do 20s or 16s, and then they die.
Yeah. It's completely different.
It's an entirely different set of skills. And the technique is so different from style. And it takes a while to like get your body to not revert into hard style mode. Yeah. I mean, when I first learned sport, I mostly taught myself a lot of things before I ended up getting a coach. And I lived in like a little tiny town. There was just like kettlebells at the gym. I had started doing kettlebells because I was working out at home, and I looked up like best equipment for home gym, and kettlebell came up. And that's how I got a kettlebell. And then I followed a bunch of people on Instagram, and I ended up following like Kim Fox and like Brittany.
She's a good one.
Yeah, so I ended up following like a lot of sport people, and then I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then my technique was kettlebell hardstyle, but I was also watching sport people a lot. And so by the time I shifted into like actual sport, it wasn't like a super big jump for me, which was very nice.
That's awesome.
And now sport style is like like a much more natural movement. And I think it's generally a little bit more natural because your breathing is like more anatomical words. And there's like a much better flow to it. Twist and snatch.
Especially if you're going faster. Like it's still more challenging for me to go slower.
The pacing is tricky. The pacing is always like the thing that you have to really drill in when you're learning and coaching it, because everyone wants to go fast, because typically if you just do your reps, you're done. And in sport, you can do 30 reps and still have 7 minutes to go.
Right.
If you're doing like long cycle, or you can have, 9 minutes to go if you're doing snatch after 30 reps. So
exactly.
You have to be, it's a whole different, like I said, it's a different set of skills for sport. You said you weren't planning on competing. Is that something you think you would want to do at some point in the future? Or no idea yet? No pressure.
Probably. I feel like I might be more prepared for like an online submission first. Also, just the logistics of like having 2 young kids, it's a little harder for us to get away. And we've done that for weekends for Strong First and stuff, but it's kind of like if you can save your budget a little bit and do that online submission, then that's always nice.
Really,
at least to get the feet wet.
Yeah, like that's like one of the best, like, I mean, COVID generally is not great, but like it is really nice that comps are more accessible through the online forum. Because when I first started sport, it was not. You just had to drive. You just had to go to the place or fly. And I mean, if that was the case, I wouldn't have gotten to compete for the last 3 years because there's no comps here. There used to be, but there's not anymore, which is a bummer. So yeah, there's a kettlebell gym in Denver, but he kind of stopped doing kettlebell stuff and it just sort of fell apart, which is a bummer. I was like really excited, like, oh my god, I'm gonna go. There's a kettlebell gym like an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and then it did never really come back together after COVID things happened. But I got to compete online, and it's still something, though competing in person is so much fun because the energy like gives you a bonus, at least 5 reps.
I was going to say, you probably do a lot better with that.
Yeah, because the thing with a comp in person is like everyone in the room is rooting for you. I have not done like other weightlifting sports, like powerlifting or anything like that. So I don't know what the energy is like for those rooms, but for sport, the energy is so freaking rad, and everyone is rooting for you because everyone, whether you're lifting double 8s or double 32s, like knows how hard it is to do 10 minutes. Like it is a very small group of people that is willing to do 10 minutes of whatever long cycle jerk snatch. And it is not a large group of people that want to do that. So everyone in that room is just like, hell yeah, like you're doing the thing. This is hard as hell, and we're really excited you're here. Please keep coming back. There's only 7 lifters in the whole country.
Yeah, I did watch one of Dennis's comps recently, like on his YouTube. He had it going live. So I was kind of tuning in while I was on the bike doing cardio, and it was cool. Like there would be moments almost like golf where like people are really quiet, and then once they hit the halfway, they're like, you're halfway, and then
it goes in waves because it's so long. It's like, I imagine like a cross country race is like there's moments where you have people going, yeah, because you're passing the crowd, and then there's moments where you're alone doing this all by yourself. But there's still people there, and generally, like, I don't know, every time I've had a comp, I've like picked a person, whether that's like my husband or my coach, or like I just picked a person and I was like, hey, you. When I worked and trained at Core, and worked out at Core, which was a gym in San Diego before they shut down. We had a sport team.
Cool.
And that's how I got into sport, and like it was such a freaking cool thing. But like you could pick a teammate and be like, okay, I'm doing this set, I need someone to be there for me, to tell me to do things, and that's what they would do for you. They would sit there and like be your person for you, so you have somewhere to like look in the crowd when you're like 8 minutes into a jerk set and you feel like you're dying and everything's falling apart, and then you're like, all right, I'm back. Yelling at me to get my shit together. Or like if it's my husband, who, bless his soul, has come to a lot of competitions and watched me do a lot of 10-minute sets, despite not being a sport lifter himself, or like an athlete like that. I give him like a list of cues to give me during sets. Like literally, I give him a notebook and I tell him minute by minute what to tell me, what to yell at me. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know to tell me to breathe. He doesn't know to tell me like the things that I need in those moments because he doesn't do sport. So I just give him a list, and he's very good, and he will just rotate through each minute up and down the list.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When Patrick and I first started dating, I had done some powerlifting comps, and he was always my person who like packed all the food and make sure I had snacks and water and slapped me on the back really hard before I went up to lift.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's nice to have that person.
Yeah. I don't even do my drives to my weigh-ins because I always get really nervous. Like that night before, you get like really anxious, and I didn't like driving out to the weigh-ins, so I'd make him drive me. And then I would, go get like a large amount of diner food, and then get ready to sleep. Yeah. Yeah, I miss in-person competitions. I'm hoping wherever we end up next is close to like some sort of gym, like within driving distance, so I can go do an in-person comp again. But I don't know where we'll be. So Army life. So we'll
how many years do you kind of stay in one spot?
2 to 3 to 4. It kind of depends.
Okay.
So this time we've been here for 3 years. We should have left earlier, but my husband is changing jobs in the Army, so his school got pushed out really far because they were doing some sort of large system change, and with that, the schools all got pushed out because they didn't want to train everybody in the school in the old system, and then they changed it. So school's not till this summer, so we've been here a little bit longer than anticipated. But I don't know where we'll be.
That's
just like
exciting.
It's exciting and also like a little bit terrifying because we could be quite literally anywhere because of the gig he's got now. He's shifting into is at every single base ever.
Is it always in the U.S. or could it be anywhere in the world?
Anywhere that there are Army people. Because he's
hey, luckily there's kettlebells like everywhere in the world.
I mean, the that kettlebell juggling thing happening this fall in Spain, and the guy who does that, he's like, well, maybe you'll end up in this side of the world, and then it'll be really easy for you to come do my kettlebell juggling competition.
Yeah,
like,
see, exactly.
Maybe. I don't know that they're gonna like hook me up like that, but it would be nice if they did. So I think getting her on a plane would be a real pain in the butt. Her being my dog, I am pointing. This is an audio format, so it doesn't do a whole lot. But yeah, who's to say what we'll be? I'm just hoping it's not somewhere like terrible. I don't really want to end up in like a super hot place or super humid place, because we've been here and it's so dry. So I think if we ended up somewhere super humid, I would quite literally drown. And I don't think we're dealing with that.
I know we're spoiled here too, because we're in outside of Asheville in North Carolina, which is like Western North Carolina. People oftentimes don't realize how far west the state stretches. But same thing here. We're like in a bunch of mountains, and it's so dry all the time.
It's so dry. Like that's why today was like a really nice day to run, because the clouds were coming in and it was about to rain. So like there's actual moisture in the air, and it's like, oh my God, I can run outside without like inhaling dust every 12 seconds. This is great. I'm also really excited to move like to a lower elevation and see what my cardio is like. Because it'll
be great.
Like literally, I live in Colorado Springs. It's the Olympic city. Like there's Olympic training centers here. So like this is peak elevation training that I've been doing for 3 years. Whenever I move to elevation, I'm gonna be a champion. My main plan is to like start shifting into a lot of high cardio work. And then like when we get to wherever we're going, because presumably we'll be lower because I don't think we can get much higher than here.
Right.
Well, I'll be like a rock star at cardio for months. When I went back home to visit my family in California in December, I did a run there, and it was so nice. I was like, this is so great. I used to like be a runner. Like that's what I did for like a really long time. I did like half marathon. I was doing like runs.
Wow. Yeah.
Running like 50 miles a week probably. Which isn't like a huge amount for like an actual runner, but I was still running quite a bit for me.
That's a lot.
And then as soon as that I was like, oh cool, like now I'm like on a base and it'll be like safe for me to run, because that was part of my problem in San Diego, is I couldn't like just go and run, and then the trails that I was frequenting, there was some weirdos. That's why I got a dog. And so I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get to run, and then every run is just like I can't breathe like after 3 breaths.
I remember that too when I moved out to Utah for a little bit. It was like the first 2 or 3 months. I think I also like slept 12 hours every night because my body was just like, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I've been here for like literally like next week will have been 3 years of me being here. And I still like, there are days where like, I don't know if the pressure is up or down or something. And the breath gets just knocked out of me like immediately.
Yeah.
But I mean, my dog is going to be a terrifying athlete whenever we get to a lower elevation. That might be a problem. I'm going to have to do a lot more running.
Just get a treadmill for her, a dog treadmill.
I have literally been looking into them. They're way too expensive. My treadmill was like $350 total. And
maybe you can rig her onto that one somehow.
I've been trying to figure it out because that would be so convenient. Dog treadmills are like $600. It's crazy. Wow. Yeah, it's like a whole thing.
That's silly.
I've been trying to figure out how to rig her onto it, but also my treadmill is very cheap, so I don't know that she should be on it because she might break it. And then I'd be sad when it's really cold and crappy outside.
True.
Yeah. So I guess we should move on from the running. That's not very exciting podcast. What at the moment, what's your favorite lift, kettlebell or otherwise, or anything?
That's tough.
It is tough. I think at the moment, it doesn't have to be your all-time favorite.
Can I do like a upper and a lower?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about any lift. I'm down.
I would say upper is probably still like the double bell military press.
Okay.
And I had a nice PR today, so I was very happy about that.
I saw before I hopped off. A good your pressing skills are like out of this world. I'm constantly jealous. I'm like, man, I can train presses more every time I'm watching your presses, and then I'm just gonna do bent presses instead.
Your bent presses are crazy.
Thank you. That's the only thing I can do.
I think I can like strict press more than I can bent press because I never do them.
My problem is when I do strict presses and I get heavy, my body automatically starts to bent press. So like I'll be doing like a 24 and then all of a sudden I'm like, and we're down.
And side press. Yeah. That's okay.
That's how I adapt to heavy load now. So I just don't, I can't, I mean, I'm sure I could. I don't try very hard, to be frank.
That's why I like the doubles though, because you can't do
I mean,
that.
I could.
You can only go back a little bit.
Oh, I would just drop down. That's the problem. I'm really committed to bent pressing any weight that I possibly can. So I
just like it because it's like, I don't know, you can't lie about it, about the military press. It's like it's either going up or it's not. And if you're using your legs, then you're gonna know. So for me, that's kind of like my ultimate test of strength for myself.
Yeah, no, it's pure strength there.
Just like grinding it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I wish I need to train it more, but I just don't. I do like a lot of lower volume ones because my main heavy thing is the bent pressing, and strict pressing only helps bent pressing so much. Like it's not like there's not a whole lot of carryover. So I do it to maintain. But I mean I can bent press 50K and I'm not anywhere near even push pressing 50K. I don't think I can even jerk 50K. So
it's a very heavy bell.
It was a little precarious. And now I'm doing it with a barbell, and I was trying to do a javelin press with it. It does not look good. It's a real ugly situation.
Well, that's just a whole different like way that you need to stabilize it then, right?
Yeah, because it's like this, and it's over. You're like, there's a whole bar. But in theory, there'd also be plates, but I haven't really done a whole lot with them. Plates.
That's cool. That's exciting.
On the javelin at all. I just do barbell stuff, bent pressing, and then that's the plates, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, I think so. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think my lower body one would be 2 kettlebell front squat, which is like also the ones that people hate the most. Yeah, I don't know why I like being tortured.
Yesterday. Like I literally yesterday I was like, man, I wish I liked squats more. Although I am like the more I incorporate them. I like doing back squats, but I don't have a barbell regularly like accessible. So I just have to do front squats, and those aren't as fun. Apparently for
I don't. But I just really like them because like the barrier to entry is the clean, right? So it's like if you can't do the clean, you don't even get a chance to squat them. So that's kind of why, I don't know, they're motivating for me to get better at.
Yeah, I mean, everyone can have their own lift that they like. They're all good lifts. There's not really a bad lift, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
I'm sure we could figure out one. But like generally speaking, there's all lifts are good lifts as long as you're doing them safely.
Right.
As long as your form is good enough that you're not hurting yourself. It's just getting better at them. And like doing such specific things like regular lifts don't go as well. I did a bench press for the first time in like probably 4 or 5 years, and I was like, this is so boring. I don't want to do this. People get so excited about this, and it's not fun. It's just a floor press, just with a bar.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
It's never been one of my strong ones. My arms are like very long. It does not help me.
I mean, you're doing strict presses though. I feel like that would be really tricky because you have. I
mean, I guess it has to go a while, but the bench was always the hardest lift for me. Like anytime I've honed in on it, but I mean,
did you do the arch thing?
Not like aggressively. I mean, I do it just to get some traction and stuff, but we don't have a bench in our garage, so we basically only do floor pressing, which I find a lot more fun, actually. People have their opinions about the floor press, but
I like
if you don't have a bench, it's the only thing you're gonna get.
that chest press. I like bridge presses like more than floor presses because that way I can get my elbows like that full range of motion down. Because I find I get stuck here. Like I get stuck at my waist or whatever rib cage. Whereas if I have a bridge, I can actually like push it over.
I usually do a bridge.
But I just never trained bench, and I like was at the gym the other week, and I was like, oh, there's a bench here. I was supposed to do a different kind of press, but like, why not? When do I have a bench? And was just kind of boring. I think I could have gone heavier, but it was just me, and I was by myself in a tiny back room of a gym that wasn't that busy. And I was like, if I drop this on my face, it's gonna be really embarrassing.
That's the other good part of floor pressing, though, is I can fail. You know, we have some bumper plates, so I make sure even if I'm going light, like I at least have one bumper plate on there, and then it won't hit me, you know, if I can't do it.
I had the little thingy bops, whatever thingy bops. I'm a professional trainer. The bars things. So
the catch bar? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't use barbells that often. I only do weird things with barbells. I don't use a rack. So I had that, but it was still like it was still like tight, so I would have been like doing like a weird shimmy underneath it. And I trained in an army gym, and I did not want to be embarrassed in front of people walking by if they found me stuck underneath the bar. It would have been a rough day, because I know I'm already like the weird person in the gym doing bent presses and Steinborn squats and things. Yeah. Don't try not to draw attention to myself by failing in front of people. Do you have a lift that you like don't like? I know we've been talking about bench pressing. It's like a lift that you just like would rather never do again, even if it's good for you.
This is like kind of a controversial answer. Not really. Because it's actually one of my best lifts, but I really hate it, which is deadlift. Like I have lifted the most weight that I've ever lifted doing deadlift. And I always used to do conventional, like when I did the powerlifting meets, and then after kids, I explored more of like the sumo stance, and I pulled like more than I had in my entire life. But I just feel like heavy deadlifting, obviously, unless you're powerlifting and that's your thing, doesn't have that much of a place in most people's lives. Like I'm much more of a fan of higher repetition, like RDLs or single leg deadlifts or hip thrusts or things like that, than I used to be. I just feel like the return on the heavy deadlift, and I wouldn't even say I'm that old, like I'm 37, but compared to when I was 22, like you know, doing a 1 to 3 rep max deadlift does not have the same benefit as doing 8 to 12 reps of RDLs for me.
Yeah. I mean, and everyone's got their own things. That's I was at like a neighborhood party the other month. It was like last year, I guess, at this point. And it was like shortly after I had like, you know, done the 50K bent press, and I was a little bit tipsy, and I was showing people because I was very proud of myself, and I don't have any friends here. So this was the only time I talked to people. And one of the like army guys was like, but what's your bench and your dead and your squat? And I was like, none of that benefits me. None of that does anything for me. Like doing like a heavy squat and a heavy bench and a heavy dead, like single, does nothing for any of my training at all.
Right.
Because the only heavy like legitimately like heavy work that I do is the bent press. Everything else is very much submaximal load. Sport is all submaximal. Like
it depends on your goals and what you're trying to do.
So like, why would I train to get a 1 rep of a deadlift? Like that doesn't do for me. And also, it's so boring. I don't want to do it. I like every now and then I like get an itch, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just train like heavy stuff. Let's train a heavy dead or train a heavy squat for a minute. And then I'm like, okay, well that's fun. I'm done with that now. I'm gonna go back to snatching for 20 minutes. and like the general strength has some carryover. In general, like, and deadlifting has carryover to bent pressing. You're hinging, but like, not really, so yeah, I was
well, and like Mike Israetel talks about this a lot. Like choosing exercises that have a higher stimulus to fatigue ratio. So like creating a higher stimulus for whatever you're looking to do, but less fatigue. And for me, it's like a 1 rep max deadlift is going to create a ton of fatigue, but not really give me a lot of stimulus for hamstrings, glutes, back, like whatever you would be traditionally working the deadlift for. So that's why I just totally have like shifted to RDLs and I feel way better.
Yeah. And that's like, if your body feels better, like I think that should be like the main goal, unless you're like a professional power lifter or something where your main goal is going to be lifting a very heavy thing for one time. But for like the average person, you don't need to lift a heavy thing one time. We need to be able to squat down and pick up a child in your case, and then like also like a grocery bag and also tug a dog along, like so like doing a higher rep of squats or things like that is going to be more beneficial for your life. That's why like nobody likes cardio, but for me cardio is makes me less of a psychopath. I like my brain is a lot happier when I am consistently doing some sort of run at least once or twice a week. Even if it sucks, because I can't breathe because I live at way too high of an elevation. But, it helps for that, but also helps me so I can like go on a run with my dog, who definitely needs to go on runs because she is a full-on psychopath, and she's been knocked out for a whole 45 minutes while I've been talking about food, and this is a miracle.
I haven't heard her at all.
She's snoring, actually. I'm hoping.
I will say that the GS has made me enjoy cardio more.
Because that's the other thing why cardio is so beneficial for me, is because most of my training is cardio sport, and that's straight cardio. And that could be
like
a cardio.
When it definitely helps you improve something else, it's more motivating. Because cardio alone is just like super boring to me. And some people can do that where they're like, I just love to go out on a run, and I haven't found myself there in this lifetime yet, but
training run. So I do like 2 or 3 minutes of running and then like a minute or two of rest, and I found that that's where I like actually like running. Back when I lived in San Diego, I would just run for like 10 miles, but the recovery time from that wasn't super awesome. Like I was like I was sore for a couple of days. After I did a half marathon, I was sore for like a week, and it was awful. I like literally the finish line was like a half a mile from the car, and I was just like zombie walking back to the car, and I sat in the car and we stopped to get like a big old amount of food because I ran 13 fucking miles, and we had to park on the other side of the street, and I had to get out of the car and then walk across the street, and it was the most painful like 200 yards of my life. And I was at that point I was like, I don't think I'm gonna run like that ever again. Well, I mostly like, if I run straight, it's like a 5K at this point. But primarily most of my running now is like interval training, and I like that. I have fun doing it. And I put on some like wild ass epic music. And it's really hard not to run if you're listening to epic music. Like literally like crazy score music. And then you're just like, yeah, I am gonna go fight this dragon, and you full sprint for a minute or two, and then you get to walk, and then it's better. That's how I've like shifted my cardio, and I'm still like getting my heart rate up there, and like maybe I'm doing like a full run and then I'm doing like a light jog, and like still like keeping my heart rate elevated in a way that's beneficial for my other stuff. And also I don't hate it, and that's more important, because if I hate it I won't do it.
Yeah, like I was pretty consistent with running from probably last August until the end of January, I would say. And then we got an erg bike for the garage, which is like a concept too, one that, they make the rowing machines. except it's a bike, but it has the same fan. And I've just been addicted to that since the end of January.
That's cardio, man. It works. Like that's my, like, whenever I have clients, because I have like a good chunk of sport athletes as my clients. And they're like, I'm like, okay, do some cardio. I'm like, what do I do? And it's like, what will you do? Will you row? Will you run? Will you go for a jog? Will you go for a bike ride? And they're like, oh, I'll do that one. Okay, well, that's what you do. Like, any of them is fine, as long as you do something that will get your heart rate elevated and maintain that for a little bit. That's the one. I like running. I hate biking so much. So I won't bike. And also my dog is reactive and she hates bikes, so I couldn't bike with her, which would be a thing.
That makes sense.
And the other thing about running is I can like check 2 things off a list, because if I do my workouts, I also have to take her for a long walk. If I run, I got my stuff done and she got her stuff done, and we're able to like move on with our day. That's when I got her was literally so I could like run again without being worried about men. Luckily I now live, like, because I live on base, and not that there's not like issues here, but generally speaking, not like I'm not like being followed.
That's
because
good. So it's good.
Yeah. People here, like, you know, it's and the trails are really nice. And she is still passed out, which is awesome. She has moved.
Oh.
It's great.
But yeah, I feel like it's super motivating, like you said, to obviously find something you enjoy doing, so you want to keep doing it. But when you see it transfer over to like your long cycle sets or your snatch sets or jerk sets, like, it's so much more motivating.
Yeah.
Because it's
that
really
you're like
frustrating to like show up and feel like you're not getting better.
Yeah, a little extra, you know. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It's just like you're doing. My theory is always like 1 minute of running is better than 0 minutes of nothing. Like if you're going for a walk and you decide, okay, I'm just gonna try to do a little bit of running. Cool, you've done something. This is good. That's all we have to do. You don't have to be 100% perfect. You don't have to go all out all the time. In fact, you shouldn't go all out all of the time. That's not good for your body. So, and I think that specifically with cardio, people think that they have to go all out. That their heart rate should be high the whole time. And you can run easy, and that's fine. You can run slower, you can row slower, you can bike
and then
slower.
You can do it tomorrow versus like having to wait a week.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I can keep going. And all of that will help. I think we're getting toward the end here, as I know you gotta move on with your day. So where can people find you on the internet?
We are on Reddit at Patrick and Rachel Nard, or user / I don't know how it works.
And
then same thing on Instagram, Patrick and Rachel Nard, or like you said in our bio line, it's the other way around. I should change that
on my thing here. So I'm gonna
I'll change it. I'll go in there and change it.
No, it's great.
And then
honestly, I think girl power, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Our website is trainwithwaves.com, and that's it.
Do you have any like programs or coaching available at the moment, or when this comes out in mid-April?
We do. We have like on our website, there's templates available that people can buy. And then our coaching availabilities, we normally announce through our newsletter. And you can join our newsletter on our website as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day and week to chat with me.
Thank you.
This new endeavor. And yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been following you for a while and watching y'all lift for a minute.
Likewise, yeah.
I'm using this podcast as an excuse to just like make all the people that I think are cool my actual friends. So I can. So
I feel so honored.
So I was like, they seem cool. Maybe they'll be my friends. And I'll just write you guys' name down. So thanks for talking to me for an hour. And I guess that's the podcast. I should think of an outro. I don't have one yet. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.